Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ainul Mardia binti Ridwan. My matric number B0619104009 and I'm from team I section 1/1. My research is about the factor influence employee turnover intention in the private sector during pandemic COVID-19. This study discussed about the factor that influence employee turnover intention on private sector during pandemic COVID-19. On January 23, 2019, Malaysia became affected with COVID-19 for the first time, with 3 cases reported in the state of Sabah and Selangor. In line with the spread of virus, COVID-19 cases in Malaysia are increasing, causing the country economy to suffer, and especially this affects society. In addition, the International Labour Organization ILO anticipate that the COVID-19 crisis will increase unemployment and employee turnover intention, particularly in the private sector. Based on the condition of the country at that time, all companies decided to lay off employees immediately instead of there are forces to reduce salaries and other benefits in order to reduce the company expenses. According to Ted and Mayer, 1993, turnover intention refer to employees knowing and purposeful intention to depart the organization. Vanderbergs and Nelson, 1999, define resignation intention as the own predicted possibility, subjective, that they will leave their company at some point in the near future. Furthermore, employee turnover intention is a serious problem, particularly in human resource management. It is very expensive for an organization because of the cost of termination, advertising, recruitment, selection and hiring. Next is problem statement. Employee turnover intention has garnered a lot of attention in the literature. Most of researchers believe that the private sector contributes significantly to the Malaysian economy and is the backbone of the country industrial development. But there having some issue due to factor influence employee turnover intention. Firstly, employee satisfaction is also affected by socialization time. Employee interpersonal role can have a direct impact on their colleague, social, job satisfaction, salary, working hour, getting promotion offer and annual leave dispute factor or contribute to strained relationship among colleagues. Second, organization commitment refer to an employee loyalty and attachment to the work organization with which he or she is associated, but it also one of the factors that influence employee turnover intention because of job satisfaction, empowerment and managerial support. In some organizations, employees engage in silent political activities to satisfy personal desire. These activities are far more dangerous and damaging than open political activities, according to Andrew and Kakma 2001. Employee turnover indicate that employees are dissatisfied with the organizational environment, working condition or organizational management behavior. Furthermore, the problem statement is about performance appraisal is a process that evaluate, manage and eventually improve the performance of employees. It should allow the employer and employee to openly discuss the organization expectation. When conducting performance appraisal, the manager always comparing employees' abilities, bias and similarity error as an issue that influence turnover intention. Next is communication, one part of the problem statement. According to Joke and Johan 2000, too much communication contact has the potential to disturb and distract the employee, while too little communication contact may leave the employee without the necessary guidance and attachment to the organizations. Lastly, the problem statement is about work-life balance issue. The majority of employees, both manager and non-manager, are experiencing work-life balance issue. It existed in the form of work overload, schedule dissatisfaction and job pressure, with the interference developing as a result of their dual career responsibilities. This circumstance may result in a work-family conflicts. My research question is there any related between colleague relation, organizational commitment, organizational politics, performance, appraisal, communication and work-life balance with employee turnover intention? And the research objective is to identify the relationship between colleague relation, organization commitment, organizational politic, performance appraisal, communication and work-life balance with employee turnover intentions. Next is about significance of study. The finding of the research are significant because it can assist in identifying problem and factor that occur prior to the intention of employee turnover, allowing the problem to be reduced, curtailed and overcome. Employee turnover is an important indicator of the effectiveness of a human resources management system as well as the overall management of organization or program. My research scope and limitation is focusing on studying the factor of influence employee turnover intention on private sector during pandemic COVID-19. Focus on employee in banking industry because of banking industry is the highest turnover rate in Malaysia in 2019. And then the questionnaire in this study was exclusive collected in Alostar Kedah. Next part is about literature review. Turnover intention among the employees in one of the biggest challenge for any organisation and have far-lasting effect. It has been seen as a serious issue, especially in the field of human resources management, according to Hassan 2014. Turnover intention is also known as a turnover plan or turnover tendency. It is a behavior tendency that causes an employee to seek to leave the company, which may result in actual turnover, according to Muhammad 2014. Research framework. Firstly is theoretical framework based on the theory of organizational equilibrium, according to Marsh and Simon 1958. The general scope of the concept of organization equilibrium consider manager, employees, customer, supplier, investor, the communities and lenders. These are individual and subgroup which make some sort of contribution the existing of the organization. In short, anyone providing inputs needed by the organization for its continued existence and survival must be viewed as an integral part of the system. Should one group leave or change drastically in nature, then the organization equilibrium is disturbed and a new level must be sought and achieved. This may require a redistribution of inducement the other in order to obtain their participations. Second is conceptual framework developed by own researcher. Firstly, independent variable, which is colleague relation, organizational commitment, organizational politic, performance appraisal, communication, and work-life balance. And then for dependent variable is about employee turnover intentions. Researcher develop hypothesis testing to identify the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. Firstly, there is a relationship between colleague relation and employee turnover intention. Second, there is a relation between organisation commitment and employee turnover intentions. Third, there is a relationship between organizational politic and employee turnover intention. Fourth, there is a relationship between performance appraisal and employee turnover intention. Next is there is a relationship between communication and employee turnover intention. Lastly, there is a relationship between work-life balance and employee turnover intentions. Last part is about research methodology. Firstly, research design. The researcher using quantitative research design. Quantitative research design is closely related to positivist research philosophy because it requires the procedure that allow data to be collected in a structured manner. Data collection and information will be gathered through secondary data collection methods such as article and journal, as well as primary data collection methods such as questionnaire, survey, form distributed. Sampling method. A non-probability sampling technique was chosen for this study sampling design. According to W.G. Ziegman and M. Griffin 2014, convenience sampling refers to sampling by obtaining people or units that are readily available. Convenience sampling selects samples from the population based on their case of approach and proximity the researcher. Next is research instrument. A fine-point Likert scale was used as a data collection instrument with responses ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree in the questionnaire. The questionnaire includes 35 specific questions organized based on independent variables to accommodate respondents who may only understand one language. The researcher set of bilingual survey form, which is English and Malay version, was created. Lastly is survey procedure. The researcher using 3 tests. Firstly is the pre-test. Pre-test will be carried out in order to obtain expert advice on how to improve the questionnaire. Second, a pilot test is a rehearsal of the research study that help test the research approach with a small number of test respondents prior to the main study and ensure that all respondents understand the question from the question sets. Lastly, to test the hypothesis, the researcher using correlation test to assess the relationship between the dependent and independent variable. The data was analyzed using the statistical package for social science, SPSS version 15. That's all. Thank you.